everybody, welcome back to the Mover Mailbag. I'm Mover C.W. Lemoyne, author of the Spectre series, and in this segment you send me your messages, letters, mail, whatever, and I try to answer it as best as I can. If you want to send me something, C.W. Lemoyne at CWLemoyne.com. You can get me on Facebook, C.W. Lemoyne. We also have a Facebook group called the Make Them Tell You No Facebook group. It's myself and other fighter pilots that try to answer your questions. Obviously it's nothing official, but if you have a question, also people in the pipeline can help you out, in which I think, cooperate to graduate and everybody helps each other out. It's a good idea. So that's facebook.com/group/make them tell you no. Or if you want to mail me something, I don't have anything mailed today, but often like to share that on the channel. It's P.O. Box 8594, Mandeville, Louisiana 70470. All of that will be in the comments below in the description if you'd like to send me something. So let's get started. Got a lot of messages because we skipped last week. All right, the first one comes from Daniel, and Daniel says, "Hey Mover, I'm currently in the beginning of Phase 3 Advance, and I was hoping to get some advice. I'm having a hard time trying to decide what asset I want to strive for. No, it's a little ways out before I will drop, but you know how everyone asks you almost every story is, what do you want to fly? No general idea of my list, but the top 6 to 9 seem to all blend together. Really love to fly close air support, but would like a platform that can also do other things. Could you give your input and maybe share some of your thoughts on the F-16 compared to other assets? You can't go wrong. I mean, flying fighters in the military is awesome. Obviously, if you talk to T-Bear and guys that have flown the A-10, it's, the A-10 is obviously the best for close air support. I love flying the F-16, because you're doing all the missions, including close air support. You're helping the boots on the ground. You're going out and doing surface attack and striking targets, fighting your way in, fighting your way out. And there's a lot of cool stuff technology-wise coming to the F-16 in the future. So I think it's a great platform. Obviously that'll lead to the F-35 later, so you'll be able to do both of those. The Strike Eagle is good, although personally I'd rather be single seat than have somebody in the back. I'd rather have the extra gas, but that's just me. But I really think you can't go wrong in the F-16, especially being multi-role. But whatever you get, have a good attitude, enjoy it, make the best of it, and I think you'll have a great career. So don't get your heart set on just one airframe, just do whatever, all of them. I mean, it'll be awesome no matter what you do. All right, next question. This comes from Ben. It says, traffic tickets and military flying. I have a question about speeding tickets and how they affect your chances of becoming a fighter pilot for the Air Force or Navy. I had 2 that I did defensive driving school for, in which they rejected my driving school, and another one recently. I'm on my first year of college and plan to go to OCS. Do I still have a chance? Thanks, Ben. Yeah, absolutely. Be honest when they ask you about it, but, I mean, people make mistakes, people do things. That's not a showstopper whatsoever. I don't think you'll have any problem with it at all. Just as with anything else, never conceal anything, don't hide anything, just answer it honestly and you'll be fine. I don't see it being a problem. Next question. This says, this is from Tyler. Says, got the pilot slot. Mover, after 1.5 years going through Air Force officer selection process and selection results being played for an extra 3 months, I finally received word today that I got the pilot slot. Thought you might like to know since I involved you in my process by seeking your guidance early on. Also, it might be a good story to share for your Mover Mailbag. Yeah, right here. I won't share the whole story for confidentiality reasons. There are military personnel involved, but the point is persistence. Persistence throughout the end of my college career by creating a way to graduate early in order to apply for last year's officer class. Persistence by maintaining constant contact with my recruiter and quick completion of applicant steps. And finally, persistence in networking, maintaining contact. I had some help from ranking military members that I would not have otherwise had unless I maintained contact. I built a path for myself and followed through until the end. Could go on with the speech, but I'm sure you're well aware of what it entails. All I have to do now is pass medical screening. Hopefully that works out. Feel free to share my story, give out my contact info for aspiring pilots. Thanks for your help in your past, Tyler. Dude, that's awesome. Congratulations. Very happy for you, and that's it. Make them tell you no. You have to be persistent. Persistence pays. That's what separates those that are successful from those that aren't. So absolutely, great job. And thank you for sharing your story, because I think someone hearing this will absolutely be able to use this as motivation to keep pressing and keep pushing, because so many people just eliminate. They go, I quit, I can't do this. But you just have to keep pressing, keep digging, and eventually you'll get where you want to go. All right, next question. All right, this comes from Liam. Hello, Mover. First, I'd like to say your YouTube channel has helped me out with a lot with what I need to do in order to become a pilot. However, I would like to talk to you about something sort of personal, sort of not. I'm a second-year student in college studying finance. I love the world around finance, but especially love flying. Since I was a little kid, I've always wanted to be an Air Force pilot. I even fly in DCS with the Warthog HOTAS system. Love the F-16C. Messed up in my first year of college with a terrible GPA and boosting my GPA much higher. My question, do you think having a terrible GPA, having a terrible year in college with a bad GPA will hurt my eligibility to become a pilot even though I'm doing better after the first year? Side note, know that you're a dog dad. I've attached a picture of my dog Keanu, which is a cute German Shepherd puppy dog. No, it's a whole person concept. So if you can get your GPA up and fix it, and then, if you go to a board and they ask, hey, what happened here? Just be honest with them. And, as long as your GPA meets the standards, I don't see it being a problem. I mean, you just have to keep pushing. You got to put the bad stuff behind you and just keep digging, keep pushing, and not worry about it, because it's not. We don't live in a one mistake Air Force or one mistake world. People make mistakes, and it's how you overcome and how you fix that what we're looking for. So I absolutely think you still have a shot there. Next question. This comes from Thomas, T38A Roles. CW, love the channel. Keep up the great work. Find your career extremely interesting. Curious to know what role the T-38 plays as it pertains to a pilot with your experience and skill set. I was also always under the impression that T-38 was a training or advanced training aircraft. You fly T-38s as a role of adversary for training scenario purposes. Thanks, Tom. I made a video about this, about what we do as adversary pilots, but yes, the T-38 that I fly, we fly them as fighters, as red air or adversary air for the F-22 and the F-35. That is our mission. So we're not training students to learn how to fly. We're training F-22 pilots by giving them threat replication and pictures and adversary profiles and stuff like that. So it's a little bit different. The T, people get confused because it says T-38 in the name. Well, it was originally designed as a trainer, but we're not using them as a trainer here in 2020, at least our aircraft. Now, T-38Cs are still being used to pilot training, but it's a little different. Hope that answers that. All right, this comes from Michael. Mike says, hi CW, my name's Mike, and I wanted to start out this email by saying that I really like your channel. The reason I'm writing is to give your listeners who have their hearts set on becoming fighter pilots an example of what happened to my son Christian. He is a USAFA grad, class of 2016, finished in the top 200 out of his class of approximately 830 cadets. That year, USAFA received 350 pilot slots. He easily qualified and was awarded one. He finished IPT in Pueblo. So that's your initial flight training. And then moved on to Laughlin, where he, about 2 months into UPT during a routine eye exam, it was discovered that he had high pressure in his right eye, and so he sought a second and third opinion, applied for a waiver, but because he was so early in UPT, his waiver was denied. His second choice, if he couldn't fly, was acquisitions. The Air Force was kind enough to grant his request. He is currently at Edwards Air Force Base working on highly classified F-22 and F-35 related projects and loves his job. His tour there ends in a few months, and he has already been hired at LAAFB and will be a project manager working on highly classified space-related projects. So it all worked out for him, by the way. He is a twin, and his brother is a Super Hornet Wizzo in the FRS at NAS Lemoore. He joined the Navy through a full Navy ROTC scholarship to George Washington and graduated with a BS in Applied Mathematics. Sorry for the extremely long email, but my point is it all worked out in the end. Keep up the great work, John. Yeah, it's true. So, it's not the be-all, end-all. If it doesn't work out and, you make them tell you no, you get to that final authority and that person actually does tell you no, okay, move on to the next thing. When one door closes, another one's going to open. So just because something is not as you originally thought it was going to be, doesn't mean it's the end of the world. I mean, things change and you move on and you make the best of it. And maybe you weren't meant to be a fighter pilot, but you'll be successful in life elsewhere. So absolutely, that's a great point, and I'm glad. Thanks for that email. All right, this is about my fini flight. Mover, what you said about your final flight is so true. I'm an EMB 145 pilot for ExpressJet. On Halloween 2017, I flew my best ever flight in the Houston. What little did I know it would be my last ride. While getting ready to go fly to Newark, my flight surgeon called to tell me to get off my AA jump seat and find a quiet place. He tells me that I have a life-threatening cancer and had to begin treatments immediately. For the last 2 years, I've been fighting cancer, slowly improving every day. Every day I hear of both pilots in both military and the airlines beating cancer and back in the harness. I'm going to be one of them. Thanks for your great video, Boomer. Dude, Boomer, cancer sucks. I know you're going to fight this, you're going to beat it, and you're going to get back in the cockpit. I think it's awesome that you reached out. The 2 worst days in a pilot's career are the day he goes to the aircraft knowing it's his last, and the day he goes not knowing it's his last. So, yeah, cancer sucks. But be strong, you'll get through it, and you'll kick its ass, and you'll get back in the airplane. I know it, especially with your attitude. I mean, that's awesome. So, it has happened a lot. I've heard of a lot of people kicking cancer's ass and ending up back. So keep the faith and keep pushing. All right, next question. This comes from Brian. I really enjoy your channel and learning about the military aviation. I know you get many of the same questions, but I believe you've not gotten these. My neighbor is a major in the Air Force. She has flown the AC-130 and the Osprey for many years. She was telling me that there are some bad pilots in the Air Force. They're pilots you don't want to get in the plane with. I thought to myself, no better than to ask you and the military pilot guru on how true this is. Are there bad pilots in the Air Force? Are there bad pilots flying fighters? Are there pilots who do real well in academics and flight school but are not very good pilots? Can you share some stories on what makes a pilot bad? 2, I've seen many of your videos and have produced, and you always say if you want to fly fighters, you have to get fighter grades. What separates someone who gets fighter grades and someone who doesn't? Is it the person who does not get the fighter grades does not know the material? 3, I've watched other videos. They said refueling on the KC-135 is one of the most difficult things a fighter pilot does. Is it difficult to learn to refuel a jet on the KC-135? What are some techniques that you do that make it very dangerous? Thanks for your service. Keep up the good work. So number 1, it's a cross section of people, just like any other profession. Yeah, there are crappy pilots. Some are good, some are bad. There's good fighter pilots, there's bad fighter pilots, there's good airline pilots. There are terrible people in all walks of life, and a lot of it comes down to attitude and preparation. But some people just are not good sticks, and that's at the end of the day that's really what it is. So, I'm not going to share any personal stories of people that are terrible. I think that's not appropriate for this channel. For number 2, fighter grades. So every sortie you fly in pilot training is graded, so you get a grade, and at the end of training, your scores are added up from academics, so the actual testing, and your actual graded flights. And if you have fighter grades, then that means you're going to move on to fighters, and if you don't, in relation to the rest of your class, then you won't. So that's what that means. It's basically your fighter grades based on how each flight was graded and the average of that. So it goes into a lot more stuff, commanders ranking, stuff like that. That's for another video. But short answer to your question is, yeah, every flight's graded, and you have to meet a certain threshold to move on. Number 3, KC-135. I don't know if it's most difficult things. The KC-135 is more difficult, especially if they've got the inboard engine, so it's got 4 engines. The inboard engines are the power's pushed up. It'll give you wake turbulence or give you turbulence from the engines, and it makes it harder. And it's just a little bit harder than the KC-10, but I wouldn't say it's very dangerous or anything like that. I mean, I think that's a little bit of an exaggeration. It's just not as easy as a KC-10. Anyway, next question. Okay, this one's. Please give me advice looking in the Air Force. Hello, Mr. Lemoyne. My name's Carver. I'm 17. Will be attending College of the Ozarks next semester to earn my bachelor degree in engineering. Ever since I was little, I always loved the military, guns, ships, vehicles, you name it. I adore it. For the past few years, I've begun to seriously consider joining the military. I've always been hesitant. If you do commit and join, I would join the Air Force, preferably as a fighter pilot. Dream plane is in the A-10. I've watched many of your YouTube videos, and I know you ran the course and know that you ran your course flying for the Air Force. Would like to know any insight you might have on my situation. Another thing, College of the Ozarks has an ROTC program. I want to become a pilot ASAP. Should I pursue that as well? I understand you live a very busy life, but if you could please give me some advice, I'd greatly appreciate it. This is very common. Slow down. Stop being in such a hurry. Everybody is in such a big hurry. I got to be a pilot now. I got to do it. First of all, make sure you want to serve your country. That's step 1. Second, make sure that it's something you want to do, and then do your research, do your homework. Don't expect people to spoon feed you this information. A lot of the questions you're asking are all readily available about how ROTC works, how OTS works. Bogeydope.com, baseops.net are all good resources, or the Make Them Tell You No Facebook group. All good resources that you can have. So slow down. You're not joining to be a fighter pilot. You will join as a pilot, And if you track select to fighters, you'll be a fighter pilot. So understand the process, and just, you know, it's not a quick process. It's not an easy process. You're not going to skip any steps. It's going to take a long time. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So just get that mentality and realize that, you know, there's nothing fast in life, especially when it's worth it. So just slow down, take a deep breath, and things will happen. But at the end of the day, the whole point of what I tell people is do your homework and make sure that you know the information, so that when somebody does tell you it can't be done, you're like, yeah, well, I know the real answer. So I think it's admirable that you want to do this job. I just recommend a little bit of caution and just do your homework and find out what the best path is for you. This comes from DJ. Hi Mover, I'm a huge fan of your videos. There are a lot of what has pushed me towards wanting to fly fighters in the military. I'm a senior in high school and currently I'm planning to study business finance in college before going into the Navy and attempting to fly fighters. Should I change my major to something in the science field? Are those degrees recommended but not required? Yeah, recommended but not required. So a couple things on degrees. One, you just need a degree, doesn't matter what it's in. Two, your GPA has to be competitive in order to get the slot. Beyond that, my advice is do something you're interested in, do something you can fall back on. Those are the two things, because if the flying thing doesn't work out, it's nice to have something you can use as a job later on. With that said, one of probably my biggest regrets for me is not getting a technical, a hard science degree, or a math degree, a STEM degree, or an engineering degree. And the reason for that is when you get those degrees, you now open doors later on for test pilot school and opportunities like that, which I cannot go do without having to go back to school and get those degrees. So, which I think would have been cool. So if that stuff interests you and you can do it and you have the aptitude for it, and you think you'd be good at it, an engineering degree will be awesome for you because it gives you opportunities outside. Now, if you're really interested in finance and you're going to do well in it, go get a finance degree because you'll be able to use it on the outside if flying doesn't work out or even after your career. And also, you'll get a good GPA in it because if you're more interested in something, your GPA will be higher, you'll do better, et cetera, et cetera. So that's my advice on college degrees. But yeah, honestly, it's recommended, not required. The only time degrees matter are for test pilot school and stuff like that. That's when it's absolutely important that you have those hard science, math, or engineering degrees. So hope that answers your question. Like I said, if you want to send me something, CWLemoyne, CWLemoyne.com, Facebook.com/CWLemoyne, Instagram.com/CWLemoyne, Twitter, CWLemoyne, and Make Them Tell You No Facebook group if you want a more or a quick response from multiple sources. Facebook.com/group/ Make Them Tell You No. Hope you enjoy it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Excuse me. No. Oh! Been a lot of that. Usually fly with the doors off. All hot too. Don't be a douche. That's rule number one. Make them tell you no.